So, what questions are you bringing? Comments, observations?
Okay, let me just think. Sometimes, currently I'm working as junior project manager, and I'm still in the process of learning everything about that industry and about Scrum and everything. And sometimes I feel like people don't really understand and can recognize the value of.
I guess you need to repeat because it's streamed. Sorry.
Okay. Do you need to start from the beginning?
I guess you need to start from.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Currently, I'm working as a junior project manager, and I'm still in the process of learning everything about that industry and the industries of insurance, and also about the Scrum and everything related to the project management. And sometimes I feel like people don't really understand and recognize the true values of Scrum, and they're like, when we are on grooming, they are like, oh, it's a waste of time to estimate tasks and everything, because they don't really see the point of that. How would you explain them the true values of Scrum?
So that is the development team that doesn't see the value
yes.
in here, right?
Yes.
Need to go away from this, I guess. Well, the one thing that people often overlook is that if they don't have something like grooming, they still will spend the time on understanding what's in the backlog and also to kind of understanding the priorities and all of that. But it's not in a joint meeting, and therefore it doesn't feel so much as a meeting time. And so that's the one thing, that typically it's not an additional time they're spending. It's more that it's more transparent that there is that meeting time that they have, versus normally it's mixed in the daily work. You know, they go to somebody, talk to them, and then understand it better and walk back and come again and have those questions, versus now they have this one meeting where this thing is happening with everyone together. And the other thing that I often see is that's the thing that I talked about experts, that people feel, why should I know about this? I will not work on this anyway, and I'm not an expert in this. And therefore the extra time. However, in Agile, really, most of what we are doing is really about knowledge transfer. So no matter if it's grooming, if it's planning together, even if you are estimating, and then the test, the development, and it's all about that we together understand the product that we are creating, and therefore the product is getting better, and we also have the chance to learn more. And yes, maybe you have people who don't want to learn more, which is also hard in our business if you don't want to learn more.
Yes, but there is, I think the main problem is probably because in our company, for example, tech leads, for example, that particular one tech lead is like, I need time to program. I'm a programmer. I want to program, but he don't know that tech lead position is not, it is mostly not about programming. It is about reviewing codes, reviewing tasks, writing tech notes and everything.
Communicating,
yes, yes. And they're like, I want to program, and how could I convince him that? But the problem is because I just started to work 5 months ago, and I don't know which approach to have while.
What about if you ask that person about the role description of a tech lead, and then you work together in finding out what is really expected from a tech lead, and then if it doesn't fit, maybe he really wants to be a developer and not a tech lead. And that might be the best thing for that person. And I know sometimes it feels like, oh, that's a career step back. But if it's not the thing that I'm up to, then maybe I'm not happy with it, and therefore I need to have a different role description, because it sounds like if he would describe the role description, he would describe the role of a developer and not of a tech lead. Yeah? Yeah, so I would start asking him to come up with a role description and then sit down with him. And I'm not sure if you are in the position who can do that, but maybe you can also bring HR with you there, and you sit together and then find out what's really needed, and then ask if that person is ready for that role or not. And yeah.
Yes, but maybe the problem is like the number of developers, because a lot of things are expected from him, and that is the one thing, because he needs to work on some technical stuff, and he don't really have time for this Scrum stuff. So the point is, how could I manage that to get what I need from him and to reduce the time of him spending on Scrum and so on? How to minimize that, probably.
Well, I think working on technical stuff and Scrum stuff is not a separated thing, because working on technical stuff always means to also communicate it to the rest of the team, to maybe also to the client, to ensure quality, to like all that stuff. It hangs together, and it's not just coding. It never is. Development, and that's why I also prefer the term development over coding. Development is more than just coding, I guess. I just want to, because you're sitting in front and it's much easier to ask if you are having questions. Yes, so we are coming back. We are a small group, so everyone has the chance.
So I'm a project manager for so long. And what I have a problem to understand for so long, though I have really wide experience in IT, is can Agile and Scrum and other frameworks, especially scaled Agile, be better, be more, let's say, productive if they have, let's say, official role of project manager. We know that we have release train engineer, we have some roles which are, let's say, fulfilling the role of someone who should be, I think, responsible for some project, especially complex one, from the beginning to the end. I really would like to hear your opinion related to that. Thank you.
So, especially in a scaled environment, as you're saying, I often see that there is a value in having project managers. And they're very spaced how I look at it. So the one thing is that I think of the kind of the core roles that we are having. If you look at it from an Agile perspective, we have like technical people you were referring to, like everyone around development, then, and maybe even architects or so might be needed in a scaled environment. Then you have like people looking at the system from the business side of view. So that's all around product owners or product management, and however you call them. So technical, business. Then we have people who look at the process, at the how that we are making progress and so on. So that's like Scrum Master or Coach or, again, whatever your name is. And what especially in the scaled version is often missing, that's what I call a political side. And the political side is that you have politics going on, especially in larger corporations, and somebody needs to take care of them. And most often I see that the other people, like coaches, Scrum Master, product owners, developers, they don't have the time for that, and they are also not in a position to really being able to deal with that. So they're also not authorized really to do that. So from my perspective, I see in many occasions, not in all, especially not in a smaller setting, that there is a need for project managers. And what I sometimes do, and that's maybe my recommendation to you to do, is using a very simple tool. And the tool is called Same and Different. And same and different, you just draw like on a flip chart or whatever it could be a whiteboard or something. You draw a table with two columns. On the one hand, you're writing same, and on the one different, and you say first collect what is the same of like what a project manager does, and probably most likely it is what a product owner does. Maybe you look at Scrum Master and project manager, it depends where you see more overlap. And you collect all these things. What is the same? What are they both doing? And then you look at what's different. What does the one do and not the other? And then you look at what is it that a project manager does and that's not covered right now, and you don't find a place in the other roles. Again, in a smaller settings, most often you find a role. Like some of the stuff can be handled by the whole team, others can be handled by Scrum Masters, some stuff by the product owner, and so on. But in a larger setting, that's often not the case. And therefore, you there find already what is it you need a person, and maybe you give the role a different name, but you can also stay with a project manager. What is it that role needs to take care of, because otherwise nobody takes care of it. Oh, I forgot one thing. Maybe in what's different, you also find out, well, we don't need this anymore. That could also be the case, right? That some of the responsibilities, they are gone. But this looking at the same different, that's what I often actually do when we start with Agile, and looking at the existing roles compared to the new roles, and then see what's maybe left and nobody takes care of, and is that okay, or do we need somebody to take care of that? Does this? No?
Actually, now I have one more question.
Yeah.
I promise just one more question.
Okay.
It's about integration role of project management.
Mm-hmm.
I think that PMI introduced something like that among their area or knowledge or something like that. I forgot that, but from my point of view, integration role of project management or project manager is the most important one, especially in case of a very complex project. We need a person who is keeping all things together. Especially things nobody else is taking care of. What do you think about that?
That's for me too vague, to be honest, because the way you said it, what comes to my mind at first is I would more see this in the role of it could be the community of all Scrum Masters, so all of them together, or maybe you have a kind of a hierarchy where you have a whatever chief Scrum Master, or again what that name is. So, but again, it might be in the community of the Scrum Masters holding all the teams together. But perhaps you have something else in mind than that. But again, that could move to a different role, really. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you. I was a product owner in an organization that has very good agile environment, and then I transferred to a company who is in the process of agile transformation. And there are some people who accept that, and some that reject those methodologies. And most of them are those project managers who who actually have a pressure for some timelines, they need everything now, and they just pushing people to do all the things at once. And how to deal with those things to, let's say, impose, maybe it's not a good word, but to implement Agile in those situations, how to convince them that it's actually beneficial.
So I guess I have more questions than answers right now. So what you're saying, you're gone through an Agile transformation, or you're still on that journey, and you do have people who had been project managers before, and they are now still project managers.
Yes, they are.
Which kind of, coming back to your question, in this case, I am a bit in doubt if they are really in the right role. Because it's not automatically that, like, even if my answer was, yes, I see a place for project managers, I don't see a place for project managers necessarily in small teams. So if you have a team of 7 people, or even maybe of 2 teams of each 7, and they are working together, I'm not sure if you need a project manager.
It's the case where the team works on multiple projects. Actually has more than one project. And they, project managers gives us requests, and we are doing prioritization. And picks a little bit from each project because we need to meet some deadlines. And some project managers are pressured because if they don't deliver soon, they will lose some money on license, on I don't know, cost delays or whatever. So we had that situation in the company, and some people are just decided to implement Agile in that environment. So where to start? Where is the starting point?
I guess the starting point is prioritization. I guess it's understanding which project has a higher priority, and then everyone should work on that. Well, whatever everyone is. So how many people are needed, of course.
Yeah, we are doing already those stuff, but
then there shouldn't be like another project manager coming in and saying like, oh, you also should work on that.
Yeah, they should actually agree on a higher level.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
To escalate those things and to decide what is the priority.
Exactly, because it cannot, well, often it is, but it should not be the team who in the end decides on what they are working on.
Yes.
And in a way they do, if you are the team, I'm sorry if I now seem to be unfriendly, but if I walk up to you and say, you really should work on this because, well, there's that client, but you have been also a project manager and yours has a higher priority, but now you are maybe scared because I'm kind of pushing on you, right? And then you work on that, although it has a lower priority, right? So officially, they have agreed that the highest priority is actually your project and not mine, but now I'm pushing you, and therefore it is you in the end making the decision and changing the priorities because you are pushed, right?
Yes, I said that as a product owner because we worked in that way in the previous company, and they accepted. But now those project managers that are actually, I would say, less prioritized, but they need to deliver, are a little bit actually against the Agile. So they are somehow harder accept.
Yeah, and the reason is where their bonus is coming from. And as long as that is not changed, well, of course they want to get their bonus, and now they feel like, well, I'm helpless. I need to make that money because that's what I rely upon. But now that stupid Agile thing disallows me to do that because there's that prioritization. So very often when you see something is not really working out in the, let's say, the surrounding of an Agile team, then it's most often coming back to the individual objectives of the people. And if they are not changed, why should those people change? They would be stupid if they would, right? Because they rely on that. Yeah?
Yes.
and it is, maybe the one thing is that a big problem that people often think Agile is for the development teams only. But if you start this way, then there is more that needs to be changed in the company. And most often, performance appraisals is the first thing that you need to discuss, because it's not fitting the Agile approach anymore.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if you can solve that, but yeah.
Yeah, but it was my question to detect. Maybe I just speak to the people and tell them if they want, they want. If they don't want.
And if the company says we want to go an Agile approach, then you need to discuss that topic, because you can't this way. And the team, of course, they can work in whatever way, in sprints and blah, but it's not beneficial because of that surrounding. So, well, not beneficial in the way it could be.
And if I can ask one more question regarding those cost delays, I'm not sure that I'm not familiar with that topic so much, but what if in the case when we are depending on the other teams, when these delivery or releases are just connected to precise release? Let's say we put the release 1.55 in January, and more people need to deliver to that release. Do we count cost of delay just after what is set with the customer, some milestone, or before? Actually, I'm not. This is confusing to me.
Well, it's one of these things which very much depends. And what I'm hearing from you, it sounds like more than the performance appraisals, individual objectives, there's more on the company level that's not acting in an Agile way. Because if we are really Agile, what we can do is having continuous integration, deployment, and delivery. And so we don't have the milestones anymore. And kind of working towards a milestone together really means we are delaying the revenue we can make. So we might be able to make revenue right now on what we have delivered, but we have to wait till January, which is right now not long, but maybe it sits there since August, and only in January we can really sell it.
But maybe you have dependency on other teams if you need to deliver something to the customers. So,
okay, it's really a wide field. I know that, and still at the moment I think more that perhaps then the teams are designed not in a way they can really deliver value, because a team is dependent on a different team. But what's the idea of an Agile team is actually that it's responsible for creation of the whole value. And there is no waiting dependency on another team. So it might be that here is where it starts already. So a typical thing would be like a team that's, for example, on the technical stack. So you have more like on front end and the back end and the middle layer, and therefore none of them can deliver a value. They all have to wait for each other. And instead, you need a cross-functional team who goes through the whole technical stack and therefore can deliver the whole value. And I know, again, it's a wide field, and there might be reasons why it's not completely possible, but at the way you are describing it, it sounds to me that you are not looking for cross-functional teams right now. You are not looking for that the story is really can be implemented, a full story can be implemented by a team.
no, because sometimes you need to integrate something. You have that integration level between.
But why can't they integrate it to the product stream?
Yes, they are doing it, but they are. We are split as an integration team, and for example, let's say for UI and.
That's what I'm saying. So it's according the technical stack, and that's not what we understand from an agile way of working. Natural way of working, we have that all in one team. And if there are things where we have to collaborate, then it's a little bit of what your question before. Then we might have a community, for example, of people who deal more with integration, so they can talk to each other in case something is changing there. And so understanding what another team just needs right now or something. But still, in my team I'm working on, we can integrate. And we do like the whole stack. We do UI, we do the database access, we do whatever algorithms we have in between. We do like the whole value creation is in one team.
Okay.
And if it's split up like that, then we will not be able to have an agile team that takes the full responsibility. Yes. Other questions? And I need to look the watch anyway, but we have still time. Okay.
Yes. Regarding estimations, because now we heard that story points are not actually good for the estimation. That is the topic that's lately popular, really, and often mentioned. So the gap between in the company as well between that Kanban approach where they have all those business analysis and all prepared FRSs before the development, and they are now switched to Agile, a little bit confused how good it should be prepared, how detailed enough for the developers, or is it possible when you switch from Kanban to Agile?
So that was one of my points that, well, they should be part of making it detailed enough. So it's not waiting for somebody else doing that for them. So whatever they will need, they will do. And
sometimes there are that accusing moment, oh, there is no that line in the acceptance, we should have it, or how to deal with those stuff should be expected from product owners always to be everything there. Oh, you said that it shouldn't be, that it's the process
not,
together.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not the sole responsibility of the product owner, it's the joint responsibility of the team. However, that doesn't really have much to do with estimation, I guess.
Estimation, yeah, I would wanted to say, if we don't have at least rough estimation, how, because sometimes we need to give that estimation and information to the people who talk to the customers, and they form price actually based on that. If we don't have any estimation, how to talk to the customers actually.
So the one thing that you can do is measuring the average cycle time, and then ensuring that for everything you're doing that you have kind of same size things. So you can use that number and say like, okay, on average we know that stuff to be completed takes that much time, and you can go out with that number. To maybe bring in another perspective into estimation. Actually, my experience is with stuff like planning poker and estimating this way, it can be helpful for a team that's just starting, and especially for a team that's new to a technology, and not because of coming up with an estimate. That's actually, I think I said that already at least 10 years ago, that's kind of ways that you can use or not the estimation that comes up there, but the conversation the team is having about what's requested from them, that's an important thing and you don't want to miss. And so sometimes a tool like Planning Poker can help you to have that conversation in order to spread the knowledge about what technology we are working on, what kind of business it is, what's requested by the client, what's the priority, what's the general understanding. So in my experience, that's often a good tool to create that knowledge in a team. And again, if you're then later on using the estimator or not, that's a completely different topic for me. And that might be useful or not. But back to your answer, there my answer is still measuring the average cycle time, ensuring that things are kind of in the same size. Or you could also say the yesterday's weather in a way that you know, let's say let's use the 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we managed to finish X amount of stories, and therefore you go with this number. And that's probably in the same way right or wrong as anything else that you're estimating. It's an estimate. It's not the truth. Anyone else? Can you?
Okay. What are the advices you will give to younger yourself at the beginning of the career in terms of project management and Scrum? When you were on your beginning of career?
Of course, I did everything right, so not sure. Don't you do this? I think one of my biggest learnings over time was that it's probably for every kind of change, and Agile is a change as well, that it's never a good idea to go somewhere and say, like, I know, you should really work that way, and I know it better, and so you go the Agile way of working, and this will solve your problems or whatever. And I still see a lot of people doing that. Like, also, sometimes it also comes from inside a company, thinking like, okay, we are now going on that Agile journey, and therefore we will need to train the people in it, and so on. And I think what's wrong with that approach is that we all need to listen first. We need to acknowledge the experience people are having, because otherwise they will block out everything right away. Because it sounds to them as if, well, whatever they did before was wrong. And maybe that person that you, for example, had in mind before has that feeling that now, well, there's that Agile thing, and it sounds like the way I'm working is the wrong way of working. And if somebody tells me that, I'm not saying, oh yes, so tell me what's the right way. No, what I'm doing is first of all saying, wait, I know what I'm doing, and I have done that for years, and I have that experience, and it was always helpful, and I created all that profit and benefit for the company. And so now you're coming and telling me that's not the right way. I will not be open to follow you and go with you through that change. So we always need to start by acknowledging the experience of the people and by listening to them, and really listening to them, not only on the surface, listening to them. And then working with that experience. So, well, an Agile tool that works perfect for that is a retrospective. So you can always start with a retrospective by asking people what has worked for you, and we really should keep no matter what kind of changes we are doing, because it was always helpful. And then what was missing and what was difficult, so we need to watch out for it. So by really taking the experience of the people, and this before anyone has talked about Agile. before anyone has explained, well, we now want to use Scrum or whatever we want to use. But first understanding what is it what people need, and then keep that and work with what's not working, and then bring in Agile for the stuff that's not working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, but just one more thing that comes to my mind is the problem I'm currently also facing, is that as like I'm more like a Scrum Master than project manager, because we have like 2 project managers on our project. And the thing is how to keep, it is, in my opinion, it is not possible to always keep everyone happy, like in the team. Someone wants something, someone wants other thing, like everyone wants something different, to some different approach of way of working, and someone wants to work on Scrum, someone don't care, someone don't want to work like that, they want some other approach, how to like keep team satisfied and to have some compromise about that.
Well, that's without knowing really details. So very often I think it helps if you know why is this. So what is the motivator for the individuals to say, I don't want to do it this way, but that way? And sometimes the why could be a really good reason, and maybe they are right, and maybe this is what we all should do. And maybe it doesn't matter so much if we do it this way or that way. And maybe if we find out what the reason is, it is completely independent from it, and it's just like something. So I have an example. On one team, I had well, actually it was several teams, but there was one person on one of the teams who really also said like this Agile stuff, so I don't like it. I don't want to do that, and they're whatever. And once I had a one-on-one conversation with the person, I found out that what he disliked was the agreement of the time for the daily stand-up, or daily Scrum, whatever your name is. And of course, everyone kind of came up with the time, and it felt like people agreed on a time because it's working for everyone, but for whatever reason, either he didn't I think he didn't speak up. I think that was the thing, right? He told me, well, everyone knows that my train arrives at this time, and therefore I will not be able to make that, and that's why I don't understand why people agreed on that. But he didn't speak up at the time. And that was for him the thing where he thought that whole Agile thing is stupid. Now, from my perspective, at first I thought, so why didn't you say that? That was kind of what's going on in my head. But then I also thought, well, on the one hand, well, we have all those tools in Agile. We asked, and we have the retrospectives and so on, and he still didn't speak up. So, but was kind of almost an aha for me. Well, you at times really need the one-on-one conversation to find out what are the real motivators, and the motivators can be almost stupid. At least it's kind of, well, we can change the time. That's no reason and no thing at all to do that, right? And he just didn't feel that he has a voice. And although I thought everyone has a voice, but he didn't use it in that way. He needed to have a different channel to raise the voice. And up to the time where this came out, he just thought that whole thing is stupid. But once he had the possibility to really raise the voice, and also then, well, we talked it more through, so what would have been his chances to say that, and that he cannot really assume that everyone knows or has that in mind with his train and so on, then things changed, and he felt like he has an impact on how we are working, and it's not somebody else deciding on it, so that really he can, together with this team shape the way we are working? So what is our approach here? And again, for me at the time, I thought like, this is what it is about really, that we have these agreements together, and still he didn't do that, right? And so I had a hard time to understanding this, but sometimes it really, well, means maybe asking more questions and listening more deeply and understanding the motivators for people, why they are acting the way they are acting.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
I will back to your presentation and increasing of productivity in the team and for the product. Two of us are in same team, and we have a situation that we work with customers from 4 countries. Customers are from the same company, but each country has regulation, country regulation, and our product has to be custom for each country. And when the customer, when one customer has some new feature to develop or something else, we have a problem to deal with new features or new requests at the same time for 4 countries, and how to deal, how to prioritize that. We cannot tell one customer wait for another to finish it, and wait for 2 or 3 months to finish this request for another country, and we will be able to deal with your request at that time.
I have a stupid question. How do you do it right now?
Multitasking.
Which means you are delaying everything.
Yes, yes. And because of that, I asked you for your opinion about that situation, how to increase our productivity.
Yeah, again, you would be faster if you work on one thing at a time.
At a time.
Yeah, because you're really, and that's what I try to make it explicit. You're delaying everything this way, and nobody really has any kind of win. And it is, if you would prioritize it, then it is like at least you are able to create the revenue a bit earlier, and also the next one earlier, and only for the last one. And of course, there's always somebody who complains, but that's why you have people who are managing those expectations.
Yes, the advice is to split it on smaller chunks and to deal one chunk for the one customer, and in maybe next sprint for the other customer. Not to wait.
That can make sense.
And to focus only on that.
That can make sense if a chunk is also creating a value. If that chunk can only be used once all the other chunks are also developed, then it doesn't help at all. Right? But if you can split the value in making it like smaller valuable parts, then can be a solution. But if they are not valuable, if they are not creating any value, but they're stuff, then it holds you up. Then it's delaying everyone.
Yes, it really depends on
how you split it. Yeah,
or the amount
definitely.
of request, and actually it is our reality, and we have to deal with it.
Yeah, but it is if you are happy and the clients are happy that everything is delayed, probably nobody thinks about it this way. Everybody thinks like, okay, they're working on everything in parallel, as if they would have all the time to work on my thing only, which is just not true. And then you do have this task switching, which again delays.
Maybe to negotiate with all the clients.
You should probably use the microphone.
Maybe to negotiate with all the clients from from that same company, because it is the same company in multiple countries, and make together them on one meeting and to agree what is the priority from their side, to see which country is the most important to finish first, and then to implement to others. Maybe something like that.
Exactly. So this is what I meant with managing. You have somebody who manages their expectations. Or we don't have a flip chart here. The way I often look at it is, well, you have all those clients, as you're saying, and there is like a product owner there in order to understand what are all the different clients' requests, and then coming up with a priority based on that conversation with the clients. And yeah, they should be in with that. Exactly.
Actually, in our reality, we have some kind of meetings with all of clients, because they are from the same company. And sometimes the decision is only on our team, sometimes on developers only. And in reality, it can be very messy in some days.
So one question I'm having is, how do you prioritize? And what I mean with that, do you have unique prioritization numbers, or do you have something which is more along the lines like very important and kind of till the nice to haves? You know, like, do you have more buckets how you prioritize that this is absolutely needed for the market, and then it's, well, would be good to have, and then the other stuff is maybe not so necessary? Or do you have priority 1, 2, 3, 4?
It depends, because the regulations in the country are changing. And for example, we work for Croatia, where the euro is coming as base exchange rate, exchange exchange currency in next year, and it is priority for us. And because of that, other countries are waiting for that for that part of development.
Yeah.
But we cannot stop stop everything for other countries. And when we can do something small for other countries, we put it in backlog and deal with it, just to deploy some small chunks and some functionalities to other countries, to things go on.
Well, then there the question is, do you do this to just ensure they are not complaining, or do you do this because it is so small that it doesn't distract you too much from working on the other stuff? So again, they are not complaining, or is it something that has the highest value and it is small enough so you can really do it together and therefore provide that value? So if it would be also super high value and you could size it that small that you can do it in a sprint, then I would think it's maybe a bit different, because you could have like 2 people in the sprint just working on that, and so it's kind of a different team, if you would think of, and the others are working on the other stuff. But if it's if it's just something you work on because it's so small, and so nobody complains, then I'm not sure if it takes more time away from what's really important right now.
Okay, but it is a part of
Yeah.
something bigger, and it can be, it is a part of valuable change of the product.
And what you could also think of is splitting the team, just in general. And you have, and that depends on what your bandwidth is. But having a team that's fully concentrating on this number one thing, and you have another team that looks at smaller, valuable chunks that are possible to be shipped to the other clients. But then again, it's exactly what you said. It also depends on your agreement with all those stakeholders.
Maybe just
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe just to allow stakeholders to put priorities. And
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. Because otherwise, again, it is the team that that decides on the priority. What is the time? Okay.
Hi. I just have two questions, if it's okay.
Sure.
Can you recommend us how we can learn more about Agile methodology? Maybe some books or something. And what is your opinion about Agile methodology in large companies? Maybe on our market, and how it is hard to apply it and something like that.
Yeah, these are both easy and difficult questions. So it's, on the one hand, there's so much literature out on Agile, and I would think right now you can even think of what is of interest most for you in your role. So you can look for books on like product owners in Agile, or if you're more a Scrum Master in Agile, and you can look at more from that side or from the team aspect. So there are really, in all those different fields, different books out there. And at least at the moment, to my mind comes at the moment, no book where I would say this, don't read this. You know, and therefore maybe it doesn't matter so much which one you're picking. But if it's something that speaks more to your role, maybe that would be the thing to go. And your other question, which goes also back to books, right? Or does it? Does it not? No?
It's just
Then
your opinion, what you think about Agile methodology in large companies.
I don't think that's an issue at all. So most of the time I'm working in large corporations. That's also how it started for me, and what was the reason why I wrote that book on scaling Agile at a time where really nobody did that. But the thing was, I was just in that environment, and we worked with, like, I don't know, 15 teams or so on one product. And I don't think it is a harder issue than anywhere else. However, speaking of what you have been raising, it might be the case that you have something built in the corporation that hinders you to get the full benefit from working in an Agile way. And if you want to really be able to benefit from it, you need to address other topics like performance appraisals, like individual objectives, like what we had right now, how you deal with these different stakeholders, and that you really kind of channel it through one meeting, one person, one priority list at the end. So, and you might have done that differently before, and if you are in a smaller company, you might have only one client anyway, and therefore you don't have that issue. But in general, I don't see a problem with that. Yeah. They might benefit even more from it. Thank you. I think, yeah, we are like 2 minutes left, so I guess we are at the end. Thank you so much for coming and for your great questions. Excellent. Yeah, thanks.